This is real footage from 1986, after the explosion at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the Soviet Union, when 600 Soviet people used their flesh and blood to stop the disaster. At the moment, the reactor lid was blown open. A large amount of graphite and radioactive asphalt concrete were ejected in all directions. Each piece of graphite, containing lethal amounts of radiation, was enough to take a person's life within minutes, in order to stop the fire from spreading further and prevent a second explosion at the nuclear plant. The Soviet Union initially sent large numbers of biochemical robots and many young soldiers, dressed in protective suits, to work in the high radiation environment. However, many robots malfunctioned continuously, and some people began to bleed from the nose due to radiation exposure. Soviet soldiers were rotated in and out repeatedly, while radioactive materials were cleared shovel by shovel to build a passage for transporting the contaminated materials. Zero ordinary miners were mobilized and volunteered to join the efforts to prevent mechanical equipment from causing further harm at the nuclear accident site. They had to rely on the most primitive methods to dig a tunnel leading to the No for reactor. However, because the soil had already been contaminated, any excessive inhalation would lead to certain death. Even so, they continued to work in the high radiation environment for up to a month. After the accident, more than 2 miners died painfully from radiation exposure. It is reported that before the Soviet Union successfully created the massive concrete sarcophagus to block nuclear, nearly 600 people had been involved in the aftermath of the disaster. Among this group, there were soldiers, firefighters, pilots, as well as doctors, miners, engineers, and ordinary people from all walks of life. Each person involved in the cleanup of the disaster site could only work for 45 seconds at a time. Yet, not a single one of them backed down. In fact, each of them was willing to work even one more second for the sake of their fellow countrymen. According to statistics, over 100 people died or were disabled due to this disaster. However, Western media slandered them as biological robots. They were paid only 400 rubles, but they sacrificed their lives to prevent further loss of life. After the nuclear accident, the Soviet Union quickly moved toward disintegration. It was once said that all the Bolsheviks sacrificed their lives here, standing shoulder to shoulder with the gods despite their mortal bodies. They took on the responsibility with their lives. Some stood in front of the gates of hell for the sake of all humanity.